by getting yourself set up on your back. And if you're feeling like you're not quite sure what you'd like to do, you could always put blocks underneath your back, or if you wanted to, you could sit on your heels and recline back with the bolster. And I'll just show that if you're interested in it. You can sit on the edge of your bolster or just on your heels and lie back. Take the next 2 or so minutes to get comfortable. Always fold the legs. Whatever works for you this morning. Wiggle around. And so we'll start to pay a little bit more attention to the inhales and exhales. Maybe even take the arms above the head for a moment just to get that nice big stretch. Feeling the skin stretch on the belly and the chest. And then bringing the arms down. Feel free to look left and right. As I'm sitting on my heels, but that's, if that's not available, don't worry about it. Just get yourself comfortable. And we'll start with our belly breaths. So just feeling the abdomen rise and fall as you inhale and softly exhale. As we're settling into practice, most of us had a long weekend, so a little bit extra day to rest and restore. So just notice how your body is feeling this morning. If you're feeling particularly tight somewhere or feeling rather kind of loose and relaxed. Noticing the rise and fall in the abdomen as you inhale and exhale. I'm going to stay here for another 7 breaths. Listening to the sounds around you and just let them build your soundscape. So we start to train ourselves that those sounds are, rather than a distraction, they're just part of what's going on. Is as important as listening to your own breath. Four more inhales and exhales. Softening the jaw and the eyes. One more breath here. We'll press ourselves up from the back. If you're lying on your back, If your legs were tucked, swing them around. And if you have your bolster, we're going to bring that out in front. And take one foot on top of the bolster. And then you can take a block if you'd like to support the opposite knee. But we're going to forward fold. So our feet are a little bit in the middle here. One foot is raised. And take your time as we forward fold. So an option could be to bring a block with you as you forward fold. And just remember that taking your time here, moving around, and then forward folding could feel a little bit more beneficial. And again, we're going to stay for 7 breaths. So once you get one foot forward and one foot slightly tucked back on the floor, fold and hold. And of course, if you're up a little bit higher, that's fine too. You could rest your elbows on the block and then capture the forehead so that you're in a supported position. Feel those inner thighs soften, so we're deeply getting right into the hips. Staying with those deep breaths, maybe now feeling them a little bit more towards the back side of the body. One more inhale and exhale with this first foot tucked in. You can press yourself up. So we're going to turn this leg up and then extend the leg so it's over your bolster as we forward fold. Again, you might want a little bit support for behind the knee. So if that feels like it's too far, just scoot your bolster in. And if you don't have the bolster, again, we're using a block. So you could block the back of the knee and then forward fold. If there's a big sensation behind the leg here, use that block to support the knee. So we're not overstretching behind the knee itself. Settle in for 2 more breaths. And then go ahead and walk that torso up. We're going to continue working with the same leg. This time we're going to bring the leg out to the side and forward fold. So we're getting a whole stretch now in the inner thigh. A good opportunity to notice if you're clenching the top of the thigh, or if you have a tendency to roll the toes out or in. And of course, you could feel free to bring that bolster closer and forward fold. And these are all 7 breaths. One more. Inhale and exhale. Press yourself up. We're going to switch sides. Feel free to just assist that leg in, maybe rock through the knee a couple of times, or just windshield wiper, a seated windshield wiper, and then we'll switch sides. That extended leg folds in, and we'll start with our half Baddha Konasana. The feet are separated, but kind of in line with the pubic bone here. And if you're like me, one leg wants to kind of come out further than the first one. So take your time, roll around until you find the right placement for the leg out in front, and using your block for support underneath the knees or for the forehead. And we'll settle in. Letting the shoulders be heavy, soft in the jaw. Remembering we're keeping the long, deep breath, so breathing into the belly still. You should feel the breath all the way filling the torso. 2 more rounds of breath. Pressing yourself up, or will assist this extended leg, knee closer. Reach the leg out, support underneath the kneecap if you would like, wiggling, and then forward fold. Most likely feeling the whole sensation behind the thigh, and maybe in the low back a little bit as well. And just using the weight of the body to come forward and open up those muscles. Lifting the torso. We'll take that extended leg out to the side. Toe and kneecap are facing the ceiling, and forward fold again. Another inhale and exhale. And we'll inhale and press ourselves up. And move your blocks off towards the top of your mat. We're going to move on to our backs. And you'll have an opportunity again to use your bolster as we take a couple of twists. And lie down. And here, maybe windshield wiper the knees again. I'm going to slip the bolster underneath my low back for a supported twist that may feel a little bit far for you, but just get used to having the bolster underneath the low back with the knees bent. And then either scoot yourself towards the right side of your bolster as you draw your knees up to a tabletop position. And then we're just going to let both knees come off to the left. So if you're up on the bolster, allow the legs to kind of dangle around. See that my top leg, my hips rather tight. So I'm going to take a block and slip it between my knees here so it's supported. And I can just let my body weight do the work. But again, that might feel too far if you're up on the bolster. If it feels like it's pulling rather than just stretching, then pop down off of the bolster. And again, we'll stay for another 4 or 5 breaths. It's a good time to notice if that top hip wants to keep firing. See if you can encourage a softening. The big belly breaths will assist the low back in expanding. So we'll take one more inhale and exhale. And then just start to make your way back, whether it's both legs at the same time or one leg at a time. Pausing for a moment, letting that work settle in. And then either scooting yourself to this left side of your bolster or just taking the knees up and dropping them off to the right. Every exhale, allowing the body to just soften a little bit more. Working on softening, releasing tension from the upper hip as well. One more breath. And making your way back to center. If you were using the block, keep it towards the top of the mat. If you had your bolster, we'll push into the floor, lift the hips, and scoot your bolster out of the way. Now hug the right knee into the chest. And then just simply switch sides, hug the left knee in. Should feel a little pressure on the abdomen. And then we'll hug both knees in. A little rocking on the low back, maybe making circles. Or just shifting your weight back and forth. And we'll take our legs to our tabletop position, tuck the tailbone so the whole spine is flat on the floor. And we'll do opposite arm and heel taps. There are lots of ways to experience this in the abdomen. If you keep your knees at a 90-degree angle, it works a different muscle than if you extend the leg. So you can play with that extension or just the 90-degree angle tapping. Usually I like the 90-degree angle tapping, but today this extension's feeling pretty good for my back, so I'm going to do the extension. And we're still, whichever one you choose, trying to get the heel and thumb to tap at the same time. Couple more, so 2 more each side. And then we'll plant the feet and roll off onto one side. Set yourself up for our clamshell. So we worked the low back. We're going to strengthen the outer hip and then move into some lunges. Elbow underneath the shoulder, and we'll dip the low half of your body down. Then you're going to flex your heels so that just the heels are touching as we start our clamshells. Opening and closing the knee. Let that top half of the body kind of release down towards the ground. Keep going. We're about at 10 of these. We're going to get to 25. Should be around 15. Keep going. Three more. And then our neutral is actually going to be on our stomachs. So you can roll around onto your abdomen, make a pillow with the hands for the forehead, and just let that work settle in. Big breaths into the belly so it feels like you're pressing the floor away as you inhale. And exhale, soften. And if you just want to roll over to the second side, go ahead. Or swing yourself around. As you sit up. And bring the shoulders pushing down and then the sideways drops down so that we're not just collapsing, that we're pressing the ground away. Knees are bent, heels touch. You can let the ear drop down towards the shoulder. So we're getting lots of different things happening. We've got the neck stretching a little bit, and the side waist as we're doing our clamshells. It's at about 25. Should be around 10. Keep flexing the heels. Keep going. One or two more. And again, we'll relax and roll onto the stomach. Legs generously separated. And just let your body relax for a few moments. And then we'll fold the elbows back underneath the shoulders and plant the forearms for Sphinx pose. We'll start here with just pressing the floor away and lifting the chest, a couple of rolls through the neck, nodding your head up and down. And then the next time that the chin is down, we'll continue to slide the arms out. So keep the left arm where it is. But on this next inhale, we're going to slide the right hand back to the sideways. Press yourself up and look behind you for your right heel. And then come down. So press the floor away. Inhale, lift, twist. Exhale, down. Only coming up so high, so maybe you're not even coming up and seeing the foot, and that's fine. Continue to press the ground away. And the low half of the body is pretty much stuck to the ground, and we're just moving through the upper portion of your body. Two more. After this last one, you can bring both hands back down. We'll take a moment, rock the forehead back and forth, and then unfold the arms, slide them out, and we'll do the second side. Left hand slides to the sideways. Inhale, press up, twist, and look back. Three more. And then come on down. Again, just take a moment. Maybe wiggle the hips. And then we'll slide our hands back to either side of the side waist and press yourself up and back into child's pose. Big toes come to touch, fold forward. Continually reaching the sits bones back. You can take the arms rather wide. And then we'll shift the weight back forward to the hands. Bolster is going to go right in front of the knees. And then your blocks at the top of the mat. I'd say start maybe on the medium height. You might want to bring it up or down, but we'll take the hands to the blocks and then step the right foot forward. Our back left knee is going to be supported by this bolster. And then, like I said, you might want to come up a little bit higher as we find a lunge here. Take the feet wide as you need to for the hips, supporting that back knee with the bolster. And then we'll press down and lift the chest. And we're going to stay for 7 breaths. Loose front toes. If you're clenching those toes, try and lift all 5 toes and settle them back down. Just 2 more rounds of breath. And we'll move back. Press the ground away. You can move the bolster out of the way if that's easier to slide the knees back, taking another child's pose. This one a little bit shorter. And then now press yourself up and we'll move to our second side. So if you found it very difficult to step your foot over the bolster, you could step that left foot forward first and then snuggle the bolster against the thigh. You've got support underneath the thigh. And press down into the floor to lift the chest. Just like we do in our Sphinx pose. You're going to feel the sternum coming forward and up. Making enough room for the hips. If you need to move that left foot wider, go ahead. Holding for just another 2 rounds of breath. And then press yourself back to child's pose. We'll give our hip flexors a little break. Moving to all fours and then swinging your legs around. We have our bolster and our blocks at the top of the mat here. So we'll take the bolster and place it on top of the blocks. And go ahead and scoot yourself forward and lift the legs. And so that the legs have a little bench. And then go ahead and lie down on your back. So allowing those hip flexors to get some space. Come back to your belly breathing. Take your time to wiggle around and get your placement correct. Dropping right into this little relaxation, just a short relaxation. So I'll keep the setup of the bolster and blocks. So you bring the heels down, roll off to one side, and press yourself up. Then swing the legs around and take the legs wide. You can scoot close to your setup, and we're going to wide leg forward fold. For some of us, we're up a little bit higher than we're used to in this wide leg forward fold. See See if you can just settle in, maybe move the flesh away from the sits bones. Notice if you're clenching in the thighs, try and relax the knees. Scanning to see if you're clenching in the thighs or the toes, the face. 5 more breaths, soften, just let the pose do the work for you. Lifting yourself back up. We'll keep our bench just as it is. Slide the heels towards the hips. Scoot yourself back. We'll move back to our all fours. For a second round of lunges. So this time you're going to step that right foot forward and you're going to forward fold with the arms on your support here. Just let the head drop down. If that felt too far, another option, you could be even closer. You can really snuggle the bolster next to the shin. Help yourself up. So that was about 7 to 10 breaths. We'll bring the right knee underneath the right hip. Just take a moment to sway the hips back and forth. Or cat-cow. Then we'll step the left foot forward. Getting your low lunge set up. And then forward fold. Wherever you are, even if you're up a little bit higher, make sure that your forward fold includes the softening in the jaw and the neck. Stay with it for 3 more breaths. Press yourself back up and shift back to your all fours for some more cat-cow. Or swaying the hips or a combination of those two. We're going to make our way into a standing forward fold. So if you would like to just hang your hands up to your bolster and move into a forward fold that way, that's great. Just finding a standing forward fold. And wiggle and sway. Feel free to take your hands onto your bench prop here, or the forearms. Just enjoy releasing the spine. Slide the hands up the legs as we deeply bend the knees. We're going to take the hands to the thighs and then squeeze the shoulder blades together, lift the chest. And inhale, curl in. Exhale, squeeze the chest. So we're doing a standing cat-cow. And I'd say mostly concentrating on opening the back here. Just looking up slightly, squeezing those shoulder blades to get the openness across the collarbones. And then as you tuck, really tucking the tailbone to find space in the low back. Three or four more, going at your own pace. And we will again lift the hips and shift to a forward fold. Hands on the bench or on the floor. Then we'll heel toe the feet wide and drop the hips down and back. So you could drop all the way down onto to the squat, or you have some support here as we start to find a little squat. Now, if you're down and you would like some support, you can always just sit on your bolster or sit on your blocks. So as we're here, wherever you are, we have the arms on the inside of the legs where we're trying to press the legs away as much as we're trying to squeeze them together. A little dynamic tension. And we'll forward fold and make your way down onto your knees. Go ahead and swing the legs around. And we'll slide the legs out. Another opportunity to use our bench here. So you can bring your legs all the way through and forward fold with the legs extended. Couple more breaths. And we'll lift the chest again. And now we're going to set up with a supported heart bench. You can scoot yourself back or move the props out of the way. Very similar to how we started in the beginning. Up to you if you'd like to use the bolster. So you can have one block rather high and one on its middle, and then place your bolster on top. If you would prefer to do it without the bolster, then you still have your blocks and you can set yourself up. And just remember that when you're coming back, if you do choose to do it without the blocks, that your low block is pretty high between the shoulder blades and not on the low back. Decide how you'd like to set up for the heart bench. So many options. You wanted the legs lifted, you could stick the bolster underneath the knees and then come back onto your blocks. You can have the soles of the feet together and knees apart. We'll find a way to open and release the chest. Again, settling in. Using full breaths. About halfway through this longer hold. So we're going to come off of our blocks or the heart bench if you were using the bolster and make your way directly flat onto your back without any props. Feel free to wiggle the hips or find a little twist. Just let the spine relax for a moment, maybe even feeling a bit of a coolness. We'll hug both knees in. Feel free to use your strap here as we practice our happy baby pose. So lots of ways to use the strap. You could strap the soles of the feet, or you could strap behind the thighs. We're trying to press the tailbone down and away. So rather than trying to get the legs over the head, we're really looking for a flat, low back. If you need a little bit of movement here, go right ahead. You can even draw those big circles to release and get the sensation of the whole spine pressing down to the floor. Notice if the shoulders are curling up, just give yourself enough room so that the shoulder blades can be on the floor as well. Ridiculous dog. And just settle in here. Another 5 breaths. And if you have to extend one leg and then draw it back down, that's okay. And you can release your strap. Bring the legs down. And again, slide the heels out. And let your body relax. Neutral body on the floor. And then the last active pose, we're going to compress, squeeze everything in, and then an inhale and expand. So we're going to contract everything in and inhale, expand. And hug as tight as you'd like. At least 2, maybe even 3 more. And then on this last one, just expand and release. Every exhale, the body softens a little bit more. You feel the ground swelling up to meet your body. Jaw and tongue are heavy. See if you can make yourself just a little bit more comfortable. Maybe that means you're drawing the knees in and you have the blocks that you want to slide underneath the knees, or the knees bent, knees together, whatever works for you. Just make yourself a little bit more comfortable. And continue with the deep breaths into the belly. And now try and extend your exhale so that it's a little bit longer than the inhale. You can play with counting the breath in. You count in for a count of 5 and out for a count of 6. Two more rounds. And then just release the counting. Just let the breath move naturally through the body. Slowly start to wiggle. Beginning to transition out of practice. Making any motions that you need to. Of course, if you'd prefer to stay on your back for a little bit longer, go right ahead. Press yourself up. Coming to a comfortable seat. Maybe draw some circles with the nose in one direction. Switch directions. Let the chin drop to the chest as you roll through those shoulders. Switch directions. And then just take a nice big stretch of the arms, big inhale. And exhale, hands over the heart, your hands together. You drop the chin to your chest and thank yourself for coming to a practice this morning. And a moment of gratitude as we share the practice with each other, even though we're pretty far away. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.
Oh, you're welcome.
Appreciate. Fabulous.
Thanks.